Broncos country, we got some unfortunate news heading into the London game against the Jets as Ben Powers has been put to IR. He's going to be scheduled to miss a couple of months with a biceps injury, with a projected return date, according to Mike Kliss, of roughly around December. So this is unfortunate news. Sucks for somebody like Ben, man, who's been incredibly durable. Started 40 out of 40 possible games for the Broncos since he's been signed from Baltimore. And it begs the question of who's going to be the person to step in, right? The Broncos offensive line and the defensive line have been the stalwarts of the team. It's been the identity, especially with the ability to run the game. And for all the, flack that we gave Ben Powers in the offseason and in preseason, because he did not look very good, he's performed very well through the first 5 games of the season. And now that he's lost, we've got some options, and we're going to go through all the different ones. We're going to talk about what exactly it means. But this is pretty significant for the Denver Broncos, man, because, we finally have really started to establish the identity on offense, and that identity being running the football, having a power run game, mixing in the wide zone scheme that seemed to work really well, obviously opening up some holes for J.K. Dobbins and for R.J. Harvey. So it's been a very, big positive for the team. And now we have to go with replacing a starter. And another thing that we've really taken for granted here in Broncos country is that we've had the same starting offensive line for a lot of games, for a lot of snaps. So that continuity and that rapport and that chemistry that they're building with each other has been, very imperative. But I think we've got some options that we could feel decently confident in moving forward. So we're going to go through all the different guys. I would love to know what you guys want to see and who your number one pick would be to replace Ben Powers at left guard. But it's going to be kind of tough to figure it out until we actually get some solid news about it. Because when you go on the Denver Broncos website, you'll see that on the depth chart, the backup left guard is Alex Polcheski. And the backup right guard is also Alex Polcheski. But then they have Frank Crum as the backup right tackle, and they have Matt Pert as the backup left tackle. But if you judge it based off of what they did during the preseason, it'll paint a completely different story. Right. So we're going to talk about that. And Alex Forsyth is going to actually be the backup center on the Broncos depth chart. But I think we have a lot of different options that we'd like to see. So first, let's break down I would say the favorite to be the replacement. And it's definitely not my choice, but probably the favorite to be the replacement for Ben Powers. And that is actually going to be Matt Pert. And the reason that I say that is because Matt Pert, when the starters would be done playing in the preseason and the second unit would come out, Matt Pert was typically the guy that would play left guard. And it could be that they just wanted to see what he can do at guard, what kind of versatility he could bring, especially after the Nick Gargiulo injury in the second preseason game against Arizona. They also wanted to get Frank Crum a lot of reps at left tackle. So it could be one of those things where in the preseason, they were just trying to get guys reps at specific positions that they wanted to see. But I think Matt Pert is probably going to be the favorite to step in. He's a veteran who's played tackle most of his career, but he does have games where he's played guard, and he's actually done it very well prior to his arrival here in Denver. My big knock on this is that he's a 6'7" guard, right? How does that affect the quarterback? Does it affect anything? Does it mean anything? I don't know, but that just seems like he's a very large, very tall guy for the guard position. So, is he going to be good in the run game? Is he going to be able to add some benefits there? And does a really tall guard typically struggle in pass protection when they're playing inside against, more powerful, more stout defensive linemen? So we're going to have to see, but I think Matt Pert is a very viable option there as well. The other option that we have is Alex Polcheski, right? Not only does the depth chart say he's a backup left guard, but he's kind of the do-it-all lineman that we have, right? He's quickly become a fan favorite. We know that he's very, very good when he steps in. When he stepped in for Mike McGlinchey last year, when he plays the tackle position, I think he's fantastic. He was awesome last year, and that's a really great weapon to have. And he's someone that I just really enjoy watching playing, and I love his story, man. Someone that's, he came out of college, he was very experienced, but he kind of lacked in some of the measurables. But when game day started, he was great in both the run and the pass. How does he play at guard? I think, if you can be a really good tackle, I think you have the ability to be a really good guard as well. But it's going to be interesting with him because he's been the additional lineman that we would put out there, on obvious rundowns, or if you wanted to have, an extra lineman line up and be eligible he's the guy that they would typically do that with. So by putting him at left guard, it would switch up that part of the game. Now, not a big deal. They could put Pert, they could put Frank Crum, they can activate him. There's a lot of different options, but maybe they don't want to mess with that, and they kind of like the way that flow has been going. So that would basically make Alex Polcheski not be the guy that steps in at left guard. Another option would be Alex Forsyth, right? And we seen a little bit of Alex Forsyth step in for Luke Wattenberg last year for 4 games. I thought he was really up and down as the backup center, right? Phenomenal in the run game. The run game actually took a pretty good leap when he was in there because he's a very good run blocker, but he was certainly vulnerable as a pass protector. Now, has he gotten better in that area of his game? Potentially. And if he has, I think he's going to be a damn good player. And the fourth option is going to be Calvin Throckmorton, right? He's on the practice squad. He's got a history with Sean Payton. Hasn't really played much since he's been here in Denver. He's been always kind of been the backup. But what he brings is a whole bunch of experience. And he's very much a left guard. That is his original position. So that's kind of the benefit that he's got going for him. A lot of experience, not going to be much of a change inserting him there and going that route. So those are the guys, man. I'd love to know what you guys would like to see. I ultimately believe that it'll probably be Matt Pert stepping in as the left guard to start the game. I just think that you look at what they did in the preseason and you look at how it kind of doesn't affect their game day operations too much. He's still got a good mix of being able to get some of the, I don't think the offensive line will miss a beat a lot if they had Matt Pert in there. And so I'm just saying that that's what I believe they're going to do based off of what they showed in the offseason. What do I want? I would love to see Alex Forsyth. I think this is a really great opportunity for him for a couple different reasons. Firstly, because you always kind of have to look ahead a little bit, especially if you're the GM of a team and the head coach. You got to look ahead to next season. There's a really low chance that we are going to retain Ben Powers and Luke Wattenberg. And there's a really good chance that we're probably not going to retain any of those guys, and we're going to need replacements. Now, I'd love to replace them with a guy in the draft, right? A young prospect in the earlier rounds. That would be ideal, but that would still be 2 positions. Alex Forsyth has the ability to play both. He is an interior lineman, and I think that there's a lot of development left there with him in terms of what he can do. And I think he showed a lot of really good stuff, especially in the run game. So this is a great opportunity for him to get some experience under his belt, continue to develop and get better as a player to see where he's at. Now, if he's just a huge liability, you've got some guys that can instantly go in for him and, be able to, produce. But I like this opportunity for him. And I really believe also that you put in Alex Forsyth, you are not going to take any kind of steps back when it comes to the run blocking that this offensive line as a unit will have. In fact, you could still take a step forward in that regard with Alex Forsyth because he's shown that he could be really good as a run blocker. So that's kind of where I'm at, man. I'd like to see him. You got to figure out, you got to know exactly what you have in Alex Forsyth. And so no better opportunity than now to be able to see that. So I'd like to see Alex Forsyth. I think ultimately it's going to be Matt Pert, but we'll see. And I'm curious what you guys think. So let me know below in the comments, man. And I think the Broncos can keep this rolling, man. I think this offensive line is going to be able to overcome the Ben Powers injury. But definitely unfortunate news. But as always, man, go Broncos. Y'all take it easy. And peace out.